Today's video is going to be all about how I survived the mental breakdown and how I built my life back up again from scratch, and how I can help you to do the same. I just want to give a quick explanation into why a breakdown could potentially happen. Why do people suffer mental breakdowns? Usually, the main reason is because it's a build-up of things over the course of time, and then an explosion happens. This is just basically whereby the brain can't cope anymore, the body can't cope anymore, and whatever the methods you have been using previously, they begin to not work. So whether you was really good at hiding things, whether you put makeup on to pretend, or you have certain coping mechanisms that were working before, over the course of time they stop working. And when they stop working, you no longer have a release. And when you don't release, it builds up. And when it builds up, one day that release is going to need to go somewhere. It becomes a situation of where you can't control it anymore, and it takes over. So just so you know, anybody can have breakdown. And the reason why these happen is because us as a community, we don't speak. We're worried about judgment of what people are going to say about us. We're worried that the information is not safe and like to be used against us. There's multiple reasons as to why somebody won't speak, but that's why I've created this YouTube, because I want to make it a space that people feel safe, and they feel safe because I'm opening up first, So just so you know, in case you're wondering, what is a mental breakdown? So first of all, welcome to all my G-Checker community. We are slowly building, and I'm very excited that you have joined me on this journey and that you continue to support me. So don't forget to tell a friend, to come and check out their local auntie. I'm Shirina Carstens, your virtual mentor and your local auntie. Today I am going to put out a couple disclaimers actually. Number one is that I'm going to be talking about a mental breakdown, what that looked like, what I went through, and how I built my life back up again. So just a disclaimer to anybody who is going through that right now, who has just recently gone through that, or someone who is currently in therapy and hasn't come to a space of healing, do not watch this video. See this action? Just come off. I'm going to be quite raw and open just to help other people out there understand some of the myths that are put out there, and really some of the truths of what it looks like. Second disclaimer is I did seek professional help. I didn't do it all alone. I won't put the direct companies that I worked with, but I'll put some links down below to help anybody who is looking for services to help them with their journey. And the third disclaimer is any trigger warnings. I can pre-warn you that I am going to speak about what it looked like. I'm going to speak about, when I say what it looked like I'm actually going to talk about it. I'm also going to talk about the glow up, do you know what I mean? The glow up, how I got to that point as well. So I just thought I'd literally put it out there. First of all, disclaimers, so nobody sue me or try whatever, because I didn't warn you. I am warning you now. This video is not for you right now, I understand, but I do believe that on this YouTube journey, for you to get to know me a bit better, and for you to understand why I'm passionate about mental health, why I'm passionate about what I do, why I'm just passionate, it's good for you to kind of hear my story. So go grab a cup of tea, a pen, paper, or maybe you just want to sit there in your PJs and listen. If so, I see you on the flip side. All right. So also I forgot to say that because I'm going to be sharing my story, this video might be a little bit longer than usual. So I'm actually going to name it story time so people are quite aware. I'm going to bring my story back to the beginning of when it started, which was 9 years ago. So 9 years ago, I got pregnant, had a baby, and the birth and all of that was great. Like, I couldn't actually ask for a better birth. I think I birthed my child in like 20 minutes or something like that, from getting to the hospital to fully being dilated. Like, it was insane. I got there and I was like 9 centimeters. That's a story for another day. But yeah, I just put that in there to let people know it was triggered when I got pregnant. I think it's also useful for people to know. I'm not going to go into it today. Today is strictly about the mental health part, but just for people to know that there was a lot of different events that happened in my life prior having a child that I didn't know had built up inside of me into many different things. So move on now. So I had my daughter, and when I had her, it was bliss. But then, about a day or so after, I realised something wasn't right. Like, I acknowledged I had a child. I knew, obviously, I could physically see her. I was doing what I was supposed to do in terms of looking after her, but I didn't feel connected. Actually, I'll go back to the birth and just say, like, when I gave birth to her, you know, like, there's that euphoric feeling that people talk about, like, oh, I just connected with my baby, or just they felt complete, or they cried. Unfortunately, that's not what it was for me. And I had her, they plonked her on me, and I just kind of looked at her like, okay. And believe me, throughout our pregnancy, I was very excited. You know, I was really excited, though I didn't have a great pregnancy, but I was looking forward to being a mum. At the same time, being a mum was also something that was my worst fear. We can go into that in another video, but it was my worst fear because of my experiences. More so in the sense of, how am I going to be a mum? What does this look like? Blah, 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 blah. Am I even worthy? Blah, 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 blah. So a couple of days later, I wasn't really feeling well. This bit of the story I'm going to fast forward a bit because still stuff going on. But so I wasn't feeling too good, and I just assumed, you know, maybe this is what you feel like when you have a baby. You just feel a bit bleh. That's exactly how I felt. But I was in a lot of pain. I'm gonna fast forward past some of it just because professional situations. But fast forward, I was sick. Fast forward. After we found out that I was ill, so I contracted strep B from the hospital, which was a blood disease, basically. Blood poisoning, tell a lie. Anyway, got sick. They realised I had that, and I was extremely sick. So they had to do what they had to do. Cool. Fast forward past that now. The reason why I'm fast forwarding is because that story is a little bit political, so I'm just being careful. Don't want no one to try to come for me. But if you did want me to talk about strep B in a deeper way, I have done my research since then, and I've noticed this become a thing. We can talk about that, but I don't want to talk about that today. Fast forward. So after I had this, I say after, I had this for, I can't remember. I'd actually have to ask friends and family, but it was a while. Maybe like a week, I think. A week. I got sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker as the time went on. And I felt in myself that this isn't just the illness. I feel like something's wrong with me, but I don't know what. Now during this whole time, obviously my daughter was just born. Bless her family, I was about to say siblings, whoa, not siblings, uncles, aunties, dad, grandma, sisters, not sisters, my sisters, their aunties, blah blah. The family came together to help, right? But I just felt odd, right? Anyway, basically along the way, it wasn't diagnosed to the T, but they started talking mental health, like this girl's got mental health. I was a little bit scared to do this video because I'm going to talk about what it looked like for me, and only when you go through it do you now look at the world in a different way. And like what I saw at that time in my world of what was going on and what people saw is two different things. But the number one thing I felt at the time was fear. I was extremely scared, and I don't know of what. I was extremely scared. Like, I was so scared. I just literally kept running. Literally, actually. So let's just go into it. So one of the things I suffered was psychosis. Psychosis is when, this is not the scientific explanation, but it's basically when your brain, I want to say, plays tricks on you to make you believe things are not as, or are not, or are as they are not, if that makes sense. And it's kind, how I can explain it is like you go into a whole nother world. Like the world you're living in, you're in another little bubble, and only what's going on in this bubble is true, and what's going on in the external world is not true, right? I'm not going to go into the episodes because I really don't want to trigger anybody, but it makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. Also, I was suffering with hallucinations. There's an argument that some of this was because I was on high drugs at the time because of the strep B. And then there's an argument in my heart that I was breaking down. Something was happening, right? Doctors were saying it was, can I remember the word? Post whatever depression. Post something depression, which is depression after you have a baby. But I just knew. And I just want to say right there, yeah, anybody that has that gut feeling, believe it. Believe it. No matter what the world is saying to you, believe it, honestly. Because deep down, I literally just kept feeling like, no, this is nothing to do with the baby. The baby might have triggered it, but I don't think that was it. As time goes on, I'm starting to know it's not the baby. It's me. Something's wrong. Anyway, so that by this time they diagnosed me with hallucinations, psychosis, which also led to very, 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 very erratic behavior. I don't know if I should really reveal. I'll just say one thing so you get the gist, but like, because in my mind, the ultimate emotion I was feeling was fear, I kept running, literally in the physical. So when people trying to get me, not get me, but like, help me in the hospital, I was running away from them. I was running away from, I want to say life. But in my head, they were trying to kill me. That's what I believe. And it was friends and family, you know, friends and family that was trying to help me or bring food to me or whatever. Oh, it was just wild. Now, in that world, nobody was doing any good for me. That's what I believed. And it was very hard for my loved ones to understand what was going on, because can you imagine, just before the baby I was kind of fine, and then this happened. So obviously everybody literally thought it was the baby. I just knew it wasn't, though I didn't tell anyone. This situation went on for quite some time, and I mean months. It distorted my understanding of people, the world. You create stories in your head. You just believe everyone's out to get you. Yeah, I think that's kind of a good insight of what it looked like. So that's kind of what it looked like for that whole time. You just didn't know if people were there for you for real, even if it was a doctor. During that time, I had to see a psychotherapist. Now, there's something amazing about the brain, because I studied psychology, and this prior got a great qualification in it. So when they made me speak to the psychiatrists and psychotherapists, I just knew exactly what to say, which this actually was one of the things that I noted down as to why I want to become something in this industry. Because when they asked me, am I okay? I just gave them the answers I knew they wanted to hear. And the only reason I knew it is because I studied it. So I knew exactly the tone, I knew the language, I knew what to say. And fortunate and unfortunately, I say fortunately because it can go into a worse situation, and how ill I was, it was on the verge of me going to be sectioned. And Nobody wanted that. All my friends were like, no, come on, you can do this, you can get better, because we don't want you going there, right? For us, that just meant I wasn't going to get better, really. Not fully, right? So, knowing what to say meant that they didn't really give me the support I needed, because they thought I was fine. They said, give her some time, she'll be okay. Anyway, that's what it looked like. Now, when you get over the symptom, the physical symptom, like what it looks like to other people. So to other people, it looks like you talking nonsense. It looks like you've gone crazy. It looks like just very distorted, and just they just know it's not you. There's like another realm after that. So it's like, the main reason I went into mental health, let me just say, is because all the things I had been through in my previous experience before having a child, in my childhood all the way up to that point, I'd never really seen a counsellor. And there was a lot of traumatic events that took place that basically still were being harboured in my life, and I didn't know. So certain events was playing over my head during that time, even though I thought I didn't even remember it. Certain emotions that I had felt were playing over my head that I didn't even know. For example, I had my daughter at 25, and there was this particular event that I kept on speaking about. And when I spoke with my grandma at the time, she told me that happened to me when I was like 6. And outside of that experience, I completely didn't even remember that. But in that experience, I remembered it. So basically, all the things that ever happened to me started coming up. And that's where it gets dangerous, because obviously if you've gone through a lot of bad stuff, and in that moment that's all you feel, bad, negative, then it can lead you to a very dark place, you know. Luckily for me, I was surrounded by a lot of love, a lot of encouragement. People really were patient with me, encouraging me to remind me who I was, what I was here for, and that I'm an overcomer, and, you know, prayer and all that kind of stuff. And because my faith is a huge part of who I am, that is why I went back. That's why I went back to at that time in terms of prayer, reading the Bible, and bringing myself back to something that brought me comfort. One of the reasons was because my grandma taught me that from very young, and I always felt very at home with the word because I remembered her. And so in that time I read the word, and over the course of time, I want to say this whole scenario was about 10 months long. Some of it was the worst part of it, and then some of it was the aftermath. I'm going to tell you some of what the aftermath looks like as well, even when you're functioning. So yeah, because I had that comfort, it was able to stabilize me to stay calm and start beginning to deal with some of the elements that was causing me to, for lack of better words, freak out. So yeah, that part took about 3 to 4 months. And then basically it was around 6 months I started to get support. Like, I actually physically asked, can I get a therapist? Can I get a counsellor? Because I started to realize, because deep down I already knew this wasn't my child. I think it's certain things in my life, you know, that I went through that are still haunting me. I need to go and deal with that. So I started to see a therapist, started to see a counsellor, and really started working on my self-development and like growing myself, growing my knowledge about myself and the things that tortured me that I didn't understand why. And as I started to do that, that's when my mental health really improved, you know. I just want to say as well that the day when I left the hospital, they gave me a bag of tablets and really expected me to stay on these tablets for a couple of years to get better. Antidepressants, and I don't even know what else was in that bag. It was a massive bag. And I just said, I'm not taking those. I'm not taking those, because I know that you can get hooked on them. And the truth is, I wanted to face this mountain. I didn't want this mountain to have any more glory in my life, you know, and there were certain people that had done or said things that power was still existing. I wanted that removed. I wanted to be free from all the worries that I had, all the expectation, just every kind of weight that was dragging me down. I wanted it gone, for real. Not just like in my head, not just pretending. I wanted it gone, which meant I had to really do the work. And that was probably the most painful part, because you had to face parts of your life you've never looked back on, to be able to then fast forward, go through that pain, deal with it, acknowledge it, understand what the triggers of that pain are, so then you can move forward. Because if you don't, down the line, it comes back up. Do you know what I mean? Whew. So then that was really the journey. And I'll be honest, that was the journey for the first, from when it happened to 6 months. And then 6 months to a year, I worked on other things, because during the time when I was sick, I lost a lot of my brain functioning, so I couldn't speak properly, and I lost my words, how to connect words with my brain and stuff like that. Even now, it happens to me sometimes. So sometimes I get stuck for words, or I forget what I'm going to say, or I get a bit disorientated sometimes, like I forget where I'm going. And I know you're thinking, what? Yeah, but it's the repercussions of surviving, do you know what I mean? And it's okay. Everyone around me now knows, and they just know when I pause, they're like, okay, let's wait. What's she trying to say? So yeah, from 6 months to a year in that time, it was just working on self. And I don't mean self-love like, you know, spa treatments or affirmations. I'm talking the deep work. So having a therapist, having a counselor, and then also plucking out all the situations that I didn't want to be a part of anymore, whether it was mentally, spiritually, whether it was traumatic things I just constantly would remember. Remove them. I wanted a clean slate. Do you know what I mean? So I could start again. And asking people, you know, did I offend you ever? And actually I realized along the way I'd offended a lot of people, but no one didn't say anything. Not during my mental health, I mean like prior that, the person I was before. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't very honest to self before, and it was only because I was trying to cover up what was really going on, and that was simply because I didn't know how to look at those things, right? So basically how I saw my breakdown was like a volcanic explosion. It's a lot. So within that 1 year, my daughter became 1. It was around that same time that I acknowledged and became connected with my daughter. So it was at that point I was able to, I want to say be a mom, because be a mom as in I actually felt it. I felt my love for her. I felt proud, you know, that I didn't give up, because I was really close to death. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was very close. You know, and I chose life. Oh, don't cry. I chose life. And I chose life because in my life, I was always subjected to certain things growing up because of my experiences. And I really wanted to, you know, be a better mum to my daughter than I had. And I wanted to show her the world that I didn't see when I was young. Give her those experiences that I felt she deserved, you know. And I was really blessed with, you know, the family that I'm connected to because of her dad, her grandma, her aunties, her cousins, godparents, and even my friends who have been really supportive throughout the time. Sometimes they would have her back then for weeks just so that I could get better, you know. And I felt like it was my duty to get better, because there's no way there's no way that I could have gone through so much in my life to get to that point, to overcome, to just not to just be mediocre. There's no way. I don't believe that. And because I was so close to death and I survived, I really believe I chose life. I had to do something great with this new life that I had. And if I was being given the opportunity to do better, then I was going to do that, you know? And I really felt it was important to not improve my mental health for my child, but improve my mental health for me, because then I'll have no regrets, no resentments. And then in turn, I can then say, oh, now let me improve my mental health as a mum. Let me improve my mental health as a woman, as a sister, as an auntie. I had to do it bit by bit. And by the time she was like 2, like, I was really loving motherhood, you know? I really enjoyed going out with her, doing things and taking her to different clubs. And, you know, I became that mum. Everybody wanted to do what I was doing or come with me, or, do you know what I mean? And to this day, it hasn't changed. And I don't cry because I'm sad. I cry because I'm so grateful at how it could have been. She could have been a motherless child, you know? And just, I'll put it just there, that for those of you that don't know, I grew up in a care system myself. And my dream is that my daughter would just never see what I've seen, you know? She's going to see some version of life, but I don't want it to be what I had. So it was important to me to get better. For me, that I was disconnected from any traumas that had hindered me, and that I become sustainable, that I can then become the versatile woman that I know God created me to be, you know? And sometimes I still cry because it might sound crazy to you, but I'm just grateful because I've had many near-death situations. But I know that one, if I didn't go by it right, it would have been my time at 25 years old, you know? And so that's why some of you say, like, why are you so happy? That's why I choose happiness now. That's why I choose love. That's why I choose to just try my best to be as honest to myself as I can now. Because I know that living in my truth means others can live in theirs, but mostly I'm satisfied that I'm doing the right thing, you know? Oh gosh. You know the moments you have to thank God, seriously. Because what it looked like was so bleak. Even the doctors were shocked when I returned looking like this. Well, not like this, but just, you know, healed. There's no way that I've been through what I've been through in my life, and I look so young. I know people who look way older than me, who's been through a lot less, and it's because you hold it on you, you know? So let's talk about what it looked like when I started to heal. So basically after I started to heal now, that's when I started to choose my career. Obviously I knew I wanted to work within mental health and helping other people, but I didn't know how. And I kind of knew what I didn't want to do, and then I kind of knew what I did want to do. I didn't really know how this was going to manifest, but what I started to do was a few qualifications to just get me on track, get me knowing certain things. And then it was kind of at the same time my public speaking career took off. I started sharing my story and telling people, like, you can overcome mental health. It's hard work, but you can do it. You don't have to become a statistic. Just because you're labelled with something, I was labelled, doesn't mean I have to stay in that boat. Do you know what I mean? I refuse to be what they call, I don't even want to say, because it can be quite rude to some people. So I'm not going to say the word they'd say, but it doesn't matter what they label you with. That label's for that moment. Yes, I had psychosis. Yes, I was hallucinating. And yes, there was lots of other things going on. But that was that moment because I wasn't healed. There was a lot of things going on in my life previous to that. And what had brought me to that moment was surviving the best way I knew how, which sometimes is not the healthiest way. So fast forward maybe 4 or 5 years after that. So I became an international speaker, not on purpose. I did not want to speak about my stuff. It just came about that way. And I developed my skills even more in personal development, in counseling, in therapy, because I kind of knew I do want to be a therapist, but I don't know how. Sometimes you're not going to know. Just do what you feel led to do. I just felt at that time to just keep qualifying. Throughout the public speaking time, I also spent a lot of time going into schools, speaking to young people, not just about mental health, about an array of different things. And through doing these things, I started to get really acknowledged, not just through schools, but lots of different organizations. I started to win awards, started to get recognized, you know. And slowly but slowly, I built my career with corporate organizations, doing various different workshops, speakings, delivering, you know, programs. And when I started delivering the programs and the workshops, I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do, but I want to do it in mental health. So I kept on training, getting some training. And then I decided that the best way to do this would be to become self-employed, you know. And so I looked at how do you become self-employed? Really, it's the click of a button. But then I realized self-employed means that if I don't get paid, I don't have no monies. Am I that in need yet, in terms of, is there a demand for me yet? At the time there wasn't, but then soon after there was. So I became self-employed in, let's say 20, oh my goodness, where are we? 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 2017. And pretty much up until this year, I've been self-employed. How does mental health look for me now? Now, I know my triggers. Do I still suffer with mental health now? I don't suffer with it, but I know my boundaries now, so I don't even allow it to happen anymore. One of the things I want to put out there is everybody's got mental health. Everybody. It just takes for the wrong or right scenario to trigger you for it to be exposed. And mental health does not have to look like someone in a straitjacket, you know. Mental health could simply be the inability to control your emotions, which then trigger into deeper things. The inability to overcome a certain circumstance that makes you feel a certain way. And the inability to be able to mobilize from when you do feel low to be able to get back to your midpoint, you know. So yeah, just a disclaimer, everyone has mental health. It's just, you need the right trigger for it to show. You know, sometimes you'll see someone amazing and then you see that they went low, and it could be someone passed away that they never thought would pass away, or it would be they lost their job. Yeah. Usually when something secure is removed, whether that's family, circumstance or anything, then it can kind of bring it to surface, you know. So I just want to put that out there. But yeah, so my mental health is very healthy now. Since I would say 8 years, I've never had a mental breakdown since. I haven't even had moments. Imagine how deep it was. I never even suffered with depression, which was very strange. But that journey, I'd say those 5 years, taught me how I wanted to work with mine, and why I became very enthusiastic about mental health is because I never thought that mental health can kill you if it's not treated properly. I nearly died because of mine. And if I didn't have the love, support and guts to ask for help, and trust me, I asked for help at the last minute, but I still asked, who knows what life would look like now? Who knows? So now I am a mental health practitioner. That's what I do for a living. I work with organizations and I also work with charities. Yes, I still speak. People keep asking me, do you still speak? But I kind of put it on pause just so that I could build up my qualifications with what I was doing. And my dream is to make sure that mental health is not taboo. And I'm not even talking about this new school, everyone's on a hype of mental health. I'm really talking about the real. Do you know what I mean? Like that real deep connection with self, that you can be satisfied with who you are, you know? I want people to be able to have a fantastic relationship with their emotions, whether it's good or bad, knowing what to do. I want people to not be held captive by their circumstance or situations. And if they do find themselves in a traumatic experience, that they're able to have the guts enough to say, I need help. Because trust me, when I took help, it was helped a lot quicker than when I tried to do it myself, you know? Still took time. But yeah, that is where my mental health is at now. And the reason why I wanted to share my mental health story here is because this is a mental health page. It's more well-being, holistic, but we will talk about mental health. And I think that it's important that people understand that I'm not just here talking because I feel like talking. I got facts, I got receipts. I am the walking example of overcoming trauma, overcoming something that is deemed in society as taboo and that you would never overcome, and that you know, once you go, you never come back. It's a lie. It's a lie. Okay? Woo! So I really hope, I know this was like pretty deep, but I hope that you get an insight into who I am and where the love of what I do comes from. That comes from a real place. And these things are real. It happens. And I think the surprise for everybody when it happened to me was I was the strongest one at the time. So never anyone didn't deem that it would be me to go down. Right? And this is also a little plea to the strong one. The one that no one ever checks on because you're okay. The one that just does it for themselves. The one that they just find a way. You matter as well. You matter as well. So yeah, that is a little insight into me, why I'm passionate about mental health. And I've been passionate for nearly 10 years now. And I've done it in so many different ways, you know. And I just want you all to really look into the holisticness of your health, because it's not just about what I'm telling you, your mental, it's your emotional, it's your physical, it's your thoughts, it's your outlook on life, it's your environment, it's your connections, it's your friends, it's your the society around you, what you allow to come into your circle in terms of your intimate space. There's a lot of factors. And we're going to get into those things later on, you know? So I thank you for this time, for listening. And I really hope that you got some good nuggets out of this, and just know that we can wipe away the stigma of mental health. Everybody's got mental health. It's just a matter of when. When, right? And the fact that I've been there, I'm willing to help those that might be scared to say anything. If that's you, inbox me on my Instagram. Let me know. Okay? Be encouraged. Just remember, when you're in that moment, when you're having an episode, when it's going on, it's not forever. But you need to surround yourself with the right things in order to get better. You know? They say, if you want to get better, don't surround yourself in the environment of the things that made you sick. So until next time, I'll see you on my next video. Take care.